All right. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, bro? It's so
Oh
good,
man.
man.
It's so good to see you. It's as for everybody watching, a brother that needs no introduction. We got my brother, Mark Ruffalo joining us on a serious note with Bruce Franks Jr. So Mark, we start this out a certain way, right?
Yeah,
I always start off with I've lost a lot of people in my life.
no.
And so I always start these off with giving folks their flowers while they're here. And for you, I want to say from day one, which we'll get into, day one, you've been nothing but supportive. You've been a person who's constantly used your platform, used your voice, used your position to speak truth to power, be unapologetic in your stances, and that is something that we appreciate you for top to bottom. And I know I speak for so many folks. And I'm proud to call you a friend. I'm proud to call you a brother, and I'm proud to honestly say you are who we see you to be. You are who we know you to be. We meet these folks in the industry and entertainment sometimes, and we're like, oh, they're great, and then we meet them and they're not them, but you are you. So we appreciate you for being you, brother.
Haha. Thank you, man. That means a lot to me. That's hard to take, but I thank you, man.
Nah, no problem. So for the world, how did how did the Hulk meet Superman? Like how did we cross paths?
Bro, I'm still not sure that you're not the Hulk, man. You are pretty, and I see you turn into the Hulk, man. I seen you do your slams, man. Um,
Yeah,
Man, I kind of feel like we were destined to meet actually in some way. We we were at a we were both doing screenings for the Oscars,
yep,
really, and we were
yep,
backstage, and your
yep.
filmmaker came up and said, here's my guy, and I'd known about the your documentary, and and then there you were, and we met,
Yeah.
and immediately, had that brotherly connection, uh,
Mm-hmm.
just felt, you know, safe and uh, family like, talking the same language and feeling, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then we started this friendship, and we
Yep.
talk about hard stuff and mental illness and dealing with all that stuff and this work. Um, and you've been taking
Yeah.
care of me, man. You look out for me too.
Look, look. We got a one of my friends in St. Louis, Lauren. She has a show, and it's like check on your strong friends. We know we out here doing the work every day, but every so often we got to tap in with each other. And make sure when this work gets heavy that we got somebody to talk to, and you've been that for me as well. So I absolutely wholeheartedly appreciate you, brother.
You too, man. And you got to be a little bit broken to come to this work with in a pure way, I think. And I know you're no stranger to violence and to loss. And I'm not either. I lost my brother too to gun violence. I don't know if you knew that, but
Mhm.
so you know, Rilke says, the poet says, the light enters you in your broken places, and I relate to that because you get a gift in those experiences that you maybe could not get any other way.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it makes you understand what it is to be a human being in maybe a way that other people don't understand that haven't been through that kind of stuff. Man, you lost a lot of people, and I want to talk a little bit about St. Louis Superman because that's how we really came together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that journey, man, I mean, you went from being pepper sprayed and gassed to being the state rep of in St. Louis for your district, and I mean that was incredible. I mean that I don't know that I can't think of there's probably not been that many politicians in American history that have come from that and did what you did, all the way to getting that bill. You know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
legislation through a Republican state house and Congress. You know that's incredible, man.
Yeah. It's, you know what, Mark, I would have never imagined, like I said in the movie, if you would have told me 4 years ago that, I would have been a state rep or whatever. It's like, because I tell people all the time, like, I voted more times in 2016 than I have voted in my entire life, and it was a awakening for me. And I'm fortunate now that we have so many folks that are in politics that's willing to speak up, younger folks, right? We got the amazing Cory Bush, we got Rasheen Aldridge, we got, AOC, we got all these folks, right?
Yeah.
And they it's changing the trajectory of what politics looks like. And I was fortunate enough in that movie. Well, shouts out to Sammy Khan and Brittany Mundra and Poe and Cheyenne and the whole team, to for them to come in and use their talents to uplift our story back home, and for so many people to see it. And I remember I posted the picture of me and you at the Oscars, and so like I'm doing an interview, and I think it's Poe or Sammy comes up to me and they're like, "Hey, there go your boy," and I was like, I turned around, so I like waited, and you turned around and you was like, "Bruce, you made it." And like everybody kind of turned around and just started like snapping pictures. And so I just now realized it's like Tony Hawk in the background and some other folks. So, but I think it really spoke to just how genuine that connection was,
Yeah.
and that love that you gave St. Louis Superman. We just really appreciate it, bro.
Buddy, I wanted to read your name that
Look, I know you did, bro.
I opened that. I was like, I took a moment. I was like, maybe I should just say it. Maybe
We have a repeat.
against who won. That was good too. But I mean,
Yeah.
I was really excited. I was like, this is like destiny. I meet you, along the road of this. We're both trying to get our movies acknowledged and doing that dance. And then all of a sudden we're there on the red carpet, boom, bump into each other again there. And then, yeah, man, I was hoping it was going to go a different way. But I've hoped a lot of times it was going to go a different way, and it didn't go that way. So
yeah, it was. You know what? The world got to see us. The world got to understand a little bit more.
yeah,
And you know what? We talked about one thing I want to ask you before we move on.
yeah.
Before St. Louis Superman, had you heard of battle rap? Like, what was your
Funny. So I was in Los Angeles. I was living in Los Angeles, and there was it was a poetry slam space,
Mm-hmm.
and I was invited to go, and I went, and I saw the most vibrant theater, living theater, immediate theater, immediate poetry. And I was so moved. And I was directing a play. I sent all the kids that I was directing in this play to go see this, because I wanted that kind of reality and immediacy and passion in their performances. So I do know it. And the fact that you're a poet, man. You are the poetry of immediacy, and that is why you're such a great communicator. And to see you in the even small bit on the in St. Louis Superman doing a poetry battle, you understand your connection to the people, to what's happening on the street, but elevated into the poetics of the street, elevated into the poetic expression, and that is timeless. That taps into the commonality of our humanity, and that kind of understanding is what is so powerful in you as a leader.
Man,
I
man, I
really
appreciate you, man.
that shit is that is the most vibrant. There is, I mean, I don't know much. There's not much in the culture that is that immediate, that vibrant of theater, of speaking really the experience of people today in the moment, you know. And I'm really
Hmm.
you're a badass, man. I couldn't.
Appreciate you, bro. So we both look, we talk about how we met, right? And one thing that the universe works the way it works, right? On purpose. And you talk about St. Louis Superman, and then you talk about Dark Waters.
Yeah.
Now, this is a movie, these are two movies about two forms of activism, right?
Mhm.
Because I remember watching it and I was like, oh yeah. I remember I texted you like, oh, it was fire. But it what it did for me is one thing I've been really intentional about is saying, hey, I know what my fights have been,
Mhm.
right? I know what my fights have been, and I know where I've continued to push forward, but I've continued to learn as well. And one thing that I've learned a lot about is environmental justice, right? And for a while for me, you saw what we were fighting for, as you talk about the fight for Black lives, and you saw it separated. And then you didn't really see it come together for a lot of folks, including myself, until Flint,
Yep.
right? And you saw it come together. I want you to speak to, because I know that's something you're very passionate about when it comes to just environmental justice as a whole. So speak to like the immediate impact and how important it is right now, if not more than ever, to not only have these conversations but find the ways that we can do something about this.
Yeah. So, my experience, I was in Flint. I went to Flint, and I had been in like poor working class and working class white spaces that were dealing with the same kind of thing, and but Flint was different to me. Since then, I'd been in places in Los Angeles where it's so clear the people living on the front lines of the environmental disasters, of drilling, of the contamination of air, asthma, all the sicknesses that go along with many of these drilling and industrial processes around fossil fuels. Um, People who have been poisoned by PFAS. One of the dudes that I've been doing this work with is um, Mark Flowers, who is a Black man. 16 members of his family have cancer based on PFAS contamination. These communities where this stuff is being dumped are in Black communities, brown communities, poor working white communities, military bases. Um, but where you see where people are experiencing environmental degradation is the tip of the iceberg of a system that has to have a lower class or underclass to lay off its poisons. Uh, it's a whole system, and where it is the most apparent is in communities of color, in communities where there's poor people, in communities where this system thinks of these people as sacrificial, and that is most in communities of color. That's where Superfund sites are. That's where dumping happens. That's where the front lines of any kind of fossil fuel production is happening, or processing in the United States. And it's this whole system that looks at a certain group of people as sacrificial for our economic gain. And that's what's brought us to the brink of total catastrophe with climate change. That's what's brought us to places that have been completely stripped, poisoned. You think of Buffalo, New York. But what I've also found with the Solutions Project, which is this organization that I work with, and we just that centers mostly on Black women in frontline communities. When you look at where the solutions are coming from, the innovations that are happening, they're happening in these communities. These folks are already, it's like you and your bill, man. You knew what that community needed. You knew. You knew what the violence was. You had lived it, and you knew exactly how to address it because you were living it. And you didn't need to be paid to understand that. You didn't need to have someone tell you that to understand that. You lived it. And what we're realizing is the communities, these frontline communities, are already creating the solutions. They understand how we're supposed to move forward during climate change. In Buffalo, New York, the first major community solar project was on top of an affordable housing complex. There, all the brown fields that have been poisoned by an industry, they have revitalized, and they're growing their food there. They understand that there's food deserts there. And it's this this kind of coming together and listening to what communities like your Ferguson needed is how we're going to move forward, how we're going to actually solve the problems of climate change. That's where the answers lie. Because when we take care of those communities, we take care of everybody. It goes upward, you know? We all go up together.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. I have seen it. I've seen the communities that are being dumped on, that are being forgotten about, that are considered sacrificial, and there are three things they all have in common. They are either poor, they're either Black, people of color, indigenous people, and they are in the way of industry. Somehow they are in the way of this system moving forward to make the most amount of money with helping the least amount of people. You know?
No, you absolutely right. And one thing that I always say, because when you talk about that whole structure, right, that goes for all of these different oppressions and oppressive systems, right? It is prosperity and our poverty for them, right? As long as we are poor, as long as they are able to treat our communities this way, they're able to move forward with whatever their agenda is, whether it be whether it's towards our environmental justice, whether it's towards social justice, whether it's our indigenous family, right? They come in and that's how that oppressive system works.
That's right.
One thing, what I've heard you talk about a lot, that I feel like doesn't get uplifted enough, is a lot of the things that's happening to our indigenous family.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Can you speak a little bit to what that oppression looks like, right? Like what's our indigenous family going through for those folks that don't know, because these are all things that when you are constantly being oppressed, right? Sometimes it's hard for you to recognize the other oppressions that's going on because you're living directly in, right, each and every day, this lived experience of fighting this system.
Yeah.
And so I'll be the first to say that I enjoy learning, even though it's hard, you know, it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
But I enjoy learning about the fights because then that's another fight I get to fight. I know they always tell me you ain't never met a fight that you didn't want to engage in. And so when you talk about, you talk about us, this is us.
This is us, man. And I think this is I mean, what's beautiful about what's happening in this moment is this intersectionality, is this seeing ourselves in the other. You know, part of the propaganda of America is that and colonialism is that one group has got to get ahead on the shoulders or backs or bodies of another group. So you had the Italians come in. They were kicked down. They were spit on. But then you got to find the person below you, and you step up on them. So then it was Mexicans, or it was the Chinese, or But there's an interesting thing that I was made hip to. Blair and Mommy corrected me because I said, unless you're a Native American, you're an immigrant here. You came here. And she said, honey, you're forgetting one thing. Unless you were enslaved and dragged here against your will and a Native American, then you came to America on your own free will.
On your own will. Yep.
And that's a really important thing to understand. The two peoples here who are most oppressed are the indigenous people and the Black African American people. These are the two people, these are the two groups of people that were either here and had it stolen or were dragged here against their will. That kind of blew my mind, because that created the circle. Now we start talking about reparations,
Mm-hmm.
The colonial mind wants to say there's not enough for both of us. If we're going to get our we got to get our reparations. How are we going to pay to give them reparations too, right? But this is about the justice of America, man. This is about healing the deep, deep, deep original wounds of this country. One is that what we did to the indigenous people was basically steal their land and took advantage of the deep, heartful people that they are. The other was bringing the African people here against their will. Those are the two major sins of this nation. And we got to talk about healing those deep wounds now, together, and see those things as combined.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I see that happening. This is a liberation movement that transcends. We're just talking about fairness in this country, man. We're talking about fairness and justice, right?
Right.
So there should be, the whole idea has been, I gotta fight this group from what I need. That's not how we're gonna do it. We gotta be all together. And you know what? That's how they beat us, man. They got look at us now, man. We're at each other's throats. And what's happening? We've seen the biggest transfer of wealth from the lower class to the upper class. We've seen the pandemic, take billions of dollars out of the economy and concentrate it into 7 people in this country right now. And
Mm-hmm.
we're at each other's throats, man. We got this president doing all kinds of deals, taking care of all of his friends, and we're at each other's throats right on the streets right now. And that's how you take advantage of us as a people. To have us beating the shit out of each other. To have us divided on lines of race, of class, of religion, of color, and race, and of who we love, right? And the more they can do that, the less we're able to do what we need to do to make this world a more just place. So look what's happening, man. They put in all these creepy judges. They've put in, they've rolled back all this regulation, and we can't even pick a target because we're too busy just trying to get by right now,
Right.
Or fighting with each other.
Right. So as we as we shift into what we see now, right? And I want to bring these two things together. We have an election coming up.
That's right, man.
We have arguably, but not arguably, the most important election that of modern day history, right?
Yep.
Um, but what we've also seen is, and I don't even want to call it an elevation mark, because if you black, you've been living through it your
Yeah,
whole life,
that's right.
right? When you talk about this police violence, when you talk about the violence that's inflicted by um, government entities, right, and that goes for the carceral system as well.
That's right.
Like this isn't it isn't, it hasn't expanded. It's just become more blatant and more upfront.
It's not elevated, it's relevated. It's being revealed to all of us now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So as we talk about these issues and we talk about our fight for Black lives, and I know you are from Kenosha, Wisconsin, and the horrible, um, you know, the horrible thing that happened up there. We saw another brother in Philadelphia. We had Deion Johnson down in Arizona, in Phoenix, who didn't receive justice. Like, it's very easy for us to feel defeated, right? To say, you know what, we don't see things changing. As a person who sees that, right? We see it from two different sets of eyes. I say two different sets of eyes, two different backgrounds, but the same heart.
Yeah, man.
As we see it, what advice, what words of encouragement, what would you give to the community as we move into Tuesday?
Well, I've never seen, I mean, I'm young, I mean, I'm in my 50s, but the amount of organizing and intersectionality and groups working together. I mean, I started this diligently during the Iraq War. And it was hard to make connections. And then I moved into the environmental movement, and that was mostly white. That was mostly white concerns, because you got to have some money to be realized enough to be able to even talk about environmental issues, right? So that
Right.
I was steeped in these things. Then Michael Brown and Ferguson happened, and Ta-Nehisi Coates's Between the World and Me, which after I read, I had no idea. And I like to think of myself as a pretty woke man, I had no idea what the Black experience really was. I didn't understand it. I hadn't gotten inside of it until those words, till facing those words of a man talking to his son, like you talk to your boy, and having to have that conversation and understanding the history of it, and understanding the redlining, understanding the systemic, all of those things. But that's where we're moving as a society. The journey that I made and am still making is the journey we're all making. Like I said, these are the times of revelations, man. We see it now, man. We saw George Floyd, man. We've seen it. We've seen it with our own eyes. It's not just the Black community that's experiencing this now. We're all seeing it now, right? So we can't say anymore, well, I didn't know about that. I didn't. Does that really happen? Those things don't really happen. Those are just the things you hear about. We see it now. So now we have to say to ourselves, who are we going to be going forward? That is a question we've never asked as a country together. That's why 88% of people say, this has got to stop, man. This kind of violence has got to stop. And Bruce, you going to the State House, I mean, You know, why do you think that had never happened before? Why do you think 3/4? Why do you think you were one of the only Democrats and probably one of the only black people in that space? Because we are. I truly feel this. I've seen it. I mean, I might be totally wrong and I might be an idiot, but I believe that this time's different than any other time. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking to each other like this, man, and people. I mean, to talk about environmentalism and environmental racism, and having that actually be leading the conversation about climate change and about how organizations are going to run, and having black people brought into that system and have to sit at the table and to share power with black and indigenous people and people with color, which all these organizations are finally doing. I just think that we are moving forward, and we are fighting for each other now. Like, we get that. And climate
Mm-hmm.
change is making it clear to us we are part of the human family, man, and we have got to take care of each other. Like they say, we are all in this together. And what the pandemic has exposed, which is also a fucking environmental issue. People are eating food they shouldn't be eating because we've maxed out, right? They're going into these wet markets, and we're going into places that humans don't normally go into. And so these viruses are jumping because of the way we're living, because of the system that we're living in. And to see what that's exposed in the world, and to see how it's exposed who is most vulnerable, and exposed how terrible the systems are that are supposed to take care of all of us the same way. This is what we're talking about, man. That's what this election is about. And you said
Mm-hmm.
it, man. You said, I'm not doing cartwheels for either of these dudes. But you know what? We're talking, one is possibility and one's impossibility. What does Trump tell us? Police reform, impossible. We're all fucked. Don't even try it. Don't even think about it. What does he say about climate change? Doesn't exist, all right? Impossible. We're not going to do anything about climate change. Impossible. What does he say about the pandemic? Impossible. Let it be. We're just going to move through. Everyone's going to die that needs to die. If you're not healthy and you're not rich, fuck off. I mean, I'm sorry.
No, you good. You good.
But man, so those are the two. You got a choice, man. You want to change the world. You want your life to be better. You got a choice, and we all know now. Your vote counts, man. People. We lost by like 500 votes in Florida with Bush versus Gore. We lost by like 2,000, 8,000 votes in Michigan and Wisconsin. I mean, you can't sit out and you can't bitch. And if you're an activist, definitely use this as a tool to move the movement forward. The propaganda of America is that the presidential election is everything, and that's bullshit, man. An election is just a comma on the movement. We are decades old, and we're decades still ahead of us of this movement. And so vote for the movement. Vote for your brothers and sisters who are struggling on the front lines. If you can't vote for yourself, if you can't find yourself doing it, then do it for them. Because we have a chance, man. We don't have much time left. This is it. This is our time, and we're the fucking ones that we've been waiting for. Bruce Franks, you're the one we've been waiting for. I'm the one we've been waiting for. The people watching now are the ones we've been waiting for. How much longer we gotta wait? Who are we waiting for? I'm waiting for Superman.
No, that's real as it get, Mark. Like, because we looking at entire administration. I remember 2017 as a state rep, I'm still in the streets, and I had the damn Attorney General Jeff Sessions come out and say Black Lives Matter activists are identity extremists, and my picture was on the front of Yahoo News and all these different things. And I'm like, I'm just out here, speaking for my people. I'm just out here riding for what I know is right, as well as making laws, passing laws, putting money into the budget to affect the most impacted communities in Missouri. And you got the nerve to politicize something that could possibly put me in danger.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Right?
That's the whole name of the game. and to make you feel like you don't have a voice, that you don't count, that you don't matter. That's the game. The more they can make you think that your vote, your voice, what you have to say isn't going to be heard and doesn't matter, the more they suppress that, the more power they have, the more they can keep getting away with the same shit they've been getting away with. But that's it, man. You're running now. My Native American sisters and brothers are running now. Deborah Haaland is the first indigenous woman ever to be in Congress, okay? And you know what she's doing? She got them $3 billion this year, and she's pushing for sovereignty for those tribal nations. That we have got to be part of this system. You know, I know the idea is you're a sellout, like your rap battle, man. That homeboy was telling you were a sellout. you know, you know.
Yeah.
But that's a language of the oppressor, man. You know, I'm not going to be part of this colonial system. I'm not going to vote. It doesn't touch my life. That's the language of the oppressor that has been internalized by the oppressed.
Yeah. No, that's a fact. That's a fact. And as we talk about that, we know we have important elections. We know we have swing states, right? We know we have important local elections.
That's where it counts, man.
Because that's where it counts. You're talking about the things that directly impact you right now. Yes, we need to get the
judges, right?
Absolutely. Prosecutors.
What kind of prosecutors? Okay, let's talk about prosecutors. We know we want to, but even our prosecutors, man, we could do more work on them, right? Progressive.
Yeah, absolutely. More progressive prosecutors, and even moving in the realm of understanding just what that could be. Because as we talk about tearing down this system, right, we have to rebuild the system the way we see fit.
That's right.
Because this system was built to move forward white men with money, right? Like that's who benefited from this system.
That's right.
And now we get in this idea of progressive prosecutors, right? What does prosecution look like? What does having diversion programs look like in your prosecutorial office? What does it look like for a prosecutor to actually say, hey, I want to cut the prison population, right? I don't want to charge folks for these petty drug crimes or criminalize addiction or criminalize mental health or criminalize poverty like they've been doing, right? So those are the type of prosecutors that we need if we're going to have this system.
Setting a bail or getting rid of
getting rid of cash bail at all.
How many poor people are in prison right now that haven't even been tried, Bruce? I mean,
simply because they can't pay.
Buddy, I mean, it's like a third, right? I mean, I was reading a statistics today. It's insane.
Facts.
Simply because they can't pay. They haven't even been prosecuted yet.
Yep, they just been charged. That's it.
And a progressive prosecutor can address that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A progressive prosecutor can set the mold for how they prosecute crimes and what they actually prosecute, because the prosecutors in the local municipalities, right? They are the highest form of law enforcement. It's not the police. It's the prosecutor, right? So they're the ones that's going to, all right, if they prosecute you, then the judge can hand down the sentence, right? If there's no prosecution, then there's no sentence. And as we said, cash bail, right? Like, and when we talk about the prison population, we know we've seen 13, right? For those folks who haven't lived through it, those folks have seen 13. They know the statistics. They know about this mass incarceration system. But Mark, one thing I want to talk about before we get out of here is, as you know, I live by a quote. Martin Luther King says, there comes a time you do something not because it's popular, not because it's safe, not because it's political, but because your conscience tells you it's right. Yeah. I lived by that since the moment I stepped foot in Ferguson, right? And initially, not even knowing what I was doing, right? Not even knowing what I was supposed to be doing. And now I still live by that. And I moved to Arizona, moved to Phoenix. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start over. Life's gonna be good. I ain't gonna protest for real as much. I'm just gonna let me get myself together.
Yeah.
And of course, being who we are, I found myself in the streets.
Yeah.
And when you talk about silencing our voices, what we're seeing in Phoenix right now with the prosecutor who's there.
Yep.
We have a Republican prosecutor, Alistair Dale, who was appointed last year,
Yep.
who, with over 29 police involved shootings, haven't sneezed at a case, right? And now we had our August 9th, we had a solidarity protest for Michael Brown. And that was one of the first ones that I organized. Actually, the first ones that I helped organize with, good people for good trouble. And I mean, we did everything. We did everything that that we've been taught, even by when you break down Martin Luther King's methods on nonviolent, direct action.
Yep. And what happened?
Only to get politically persecuted, only to get hit with felonies.
Yep.
With trumped up charges.
Yep.
Right. And what hurt me the most was,
that's what happened to you. I mean, this just happened to you.
Yeah, this is happening right now.
And you're in the middle of this now, and you were arrested on totally bogus charges. You were well within the rights of your as a protester to peacefully assemble. You were outside the boundaries that were set by the police, and you were you're being prosecuted, man. You're being persecuted and prosecuted, but you're being persecuted because they knew who you were. They knew who.
Yeah, they knew exactly who I was. You see it on the body cam footage. The body cam footage shows the officer saying, "Hey, arrest Franks.
Go get that guy.
Go get that guy with the red shirt. Like, that's the one." And when you read the transcripts from the police report, like, oh, we've been watching Franks's in social media. He was promoting this march and so on and so forth. So there goes like that surveillance tip. And now it moves to an area of, okay, I've been through this. So, they're not going to shake me. They're not going, I'm standing strong.
Yeah.
But I have some young brothers and sisters and family out there that are dynamic, but they've never been through this. Yeah. And so these political prosecutions don't just eat at you, when it comes to the carceral system, like you talking about mentally. We had a young brother, Percy, they locked him up for 10 days. This brother never been in handcuffs for real. They locked him up for 10 days for using his voice. And so when we talk about this idea of getting a progressive prosecutor, like this is one of the biggest races that's in the country right now when you talk about on a local level, right? Yeah. And we got the opportunity to get Julie Gonna go in there, right? Somebody who said, who believes in police reform, who believes in holding, the system accountable, who believes in cutting the prison population, who believes in not prosecuting, not criminalizing those with mental health, those with drug addictions, those who are poor, right? Yeah. And now that we see these things happening, and like you said, Mark, it's an eye opener for more people now, because that's what these things continue to do. George Floyd opened a lot of people's eyes because those folks couldn't give the excuse no more. They couldn't say, oh, well, maybe this or maybe that. No, you sat there and watched them put their knee in that man's neck.
That's right. That was murder.
So there was nothing you can do about that, right? You can't fabricate that. You can't no conspiracy theories.
No, man, no.
You can't unsee that.
No, you can't. And
right. And that happened. And so now, Mark, what we're seeing, and one thing I appreciate you for uplifting earlier is now it's this idea of what do we do together, right? Like, how can we do this together with those folks who are like-minded, with those folks who do see it? Because one thing that me and you talk about all the time, and I do some amazing work with an organization out of Arizona, and they always uplift one of their values, and it's something that me and you've been saying a long time as well. It's all of us or none of us.
That's right, man.
Right? You don't get to pick and choose.
Nope.
You don't get to say, oh, that person and that person. You don't get to prosecute this person for who they love. You don't get to prosecute this person for being a person of color. Nope. Right? You don't get to prosecute this person for having a disability. You don't get to prosecute our people, and these are our people. And I always say, you know what, my people, and people are like, well, who is my people? Is my people.
That's right.
My people is anybody who willing to stand on side of me, in front of me or behind me, get pepper sprayed, tear gas, who willing to use their voice, right, to fight those who have been fight for those who have been oppressed, who have been held down.
Yeah.
That's what we do, and we do it. Something I learned. I knew it, but I uplifted it after me and you had a conversation. Is all these things that we doing, we got to do it with love,
That's it.
right? We got to love on each other in public. We got to love on each other out loud. We got to have each other's back out loud. People got to know that Bruce and Mark rock with each other out loud,
Yeah,
right?
you man.
Like, you're like, I love you, bro. You already know. Like, you know, you come for Mark, you come for me. You know what I'm saying? So,
I love that, man. Yeah, we have to. That's what this is about, man. And that's what unites us all, man. That's how we know we're human. That's
yep.
because we have the capacity to love. We all have the capacity to love. We all love our families. We all love our, the person we love. And that's how we know we're all of the same. No matter what color our skin is, no matter what our religious beliefs are, how we interrelate with a higher power, or who we love, or even how we see our bodies compared
Facts.
to how we feel about ourselves sexually,
Right.
We're all connected. And the idea that we're not is the big lie, but we're all connected because we're all capable of love, man. That's what God wanted us to see in each other. But that's also when you approach anything with that, you're unbeatable, man. That's why Martin Luther King is unbeatable. That's why the Standing Rock movement was unbeatable, because they were coming from love. They were coming from the love of their water, their traditions. You were coming from the love of your people, your legacy, and what you had lost. And so, yeah, that's the way, man. And when people are watching on TV and they see other people coming from love, they say, those are the ones I relate to.
Yeah.
And that's why you have agitators going into the Black Lives Matter movement, and right-wing agitators. Like in Kenosha, Wisconsin, they arrested 170 people. Okay, 140 of them were from out of state. 140 of them were there. They had no connection to the community, and they were there to create chaos and to show the world. And a lot of these people are right-wing agitators, man. And that's where our power is. And they know that. They know that when people see us coming from love, we win. So that's why they're sending in these idiots to come and break shit up and burn shit and do violent shit, right? Or unless you're from a community that is the only way you know how to be heard.
Facts. And I'm so glad, Mark, I'm so glad you made that distinction. Because I was sitting here listening like, I love my brother Mark, but I'm finna have to get on him right now.
I know.
No, I'm so glad you made that distinction, bro. You don't, if you are part of that right wing that's coming in to cause this type of havoc, then you're absolutely right. We get them the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But when you have folks from that community, right? Now, it don't matter who agree with this. It don't matter who disagree with this, because we always want to quote Martin Luther King, but we forget that Martin Luther King said rioting is the language of the unheard, right? And you mean to tell me that when an athlete throws a Gatorade can, or when folks tear shit up in the street after they've won a World Cup or one of these sports events, right? Oh, they're just showing passion for they. But when a black man, a black woman, a black family member is killed in the middle of the street, a black trans woman, a black trans man is killed in the middle of the street, right? And folks are upset because the first thing they are met with is militarized police. The first thing they are met with all of these different resources that we haven't seen, that we actually pay for. And now we are being
You're
criminalized,
the
right?
enemy.
In our own community. And so it's not, you don't, I tell people all this time, you don't get to separate the folks that want to break shit that come from this community from us. Am I out there breaking shit? No. Am I out there busting windows? No. But this young brother right here that is, I'm gonna snatch him up. I'm gonna embrace him. I'm gonna tell him I love him. I'm gonna say, you know what? Hey, let's redirect that energy. I got you. Let's direct that into some organizing. Let's direct that into something where we can do it constructively, right? But I'm not going to throw them to the police. I'm not going to put them on Front Street. I'm not going to do any of those things, right?
Man,
I'm
and take them
that's
down.
I'm so glad you made that distinction, bro. I appreciate you.
Look at Tamika Mallory, man. She said it. It's like, you taught me this. You
Facts.
taught me this.
Facts.
You know,
Facts.
I mean, what is the other language that you learn? You know, you're speaking the language that you learn and you understand. And when you have a system that uses violence to oppress you, to control you, to keep you afraid, to keep you down, then how are you supposed to? How do you learn to respond to that system? But in like kind.
That's real. That's real. That's real. Brother. As we close out, before we give our final words, I want to give some special shout outs while you're here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my best friend card right now. I want to give a special shout out to Corey Bush.
Corey Bush, man.
Man, listen, brother.
So beautiful, man. So real, so truthful. Let's give a special shout out to Corey Bush.
Corey. We've been pepper sprayed together. We've been tear gas together. We we we've been through a whole lot together in the past 6 years. And to see her stay persistent, right? To see her go up against the establishment, what folks saw as normal. She was running against 60 years of the same last name in that position. And a lot of people counted her out.
I know.
A lot of people counted her out. And as she was running for office, she was still in the streets. You can't teach that.
No, man.
Right? That's what elected officials, that's what politics looks like now. That's what it's going to shape up into. That's the trajectory we're going to take it. We're going to take it there.
It's going, man. It is happening.
So big shouts out to Corey Bush. As I stated, we have a very important race in Phoenix where we need to get Alistair Dale out of office, bro, and we have to get Julie Gonigal in that prosecutor position.
I vote for Julie Gonigal. She has my endorsement today.
Man, that's what's up. I appreciate it, bro. But just shouts out to everybody that's been leaving comments. We love you. Bro, we got Steffi in the comments. I want you to give her a special shout out. She is a superhero guru. My family from Canada. Yeah, Steffi.
Hey, babe.
But yeah, bro. I appreciate you. You know, I'm glad we got to let the world know, see, you know what our conversations are usually like.
Yeah, me too, man.
On a personal level, but I can't stress enough how much I appreciate you, how much I appreciate your friendship, your brotherhood, your fight, your voice. And you already know you need me. I'm a text, phone call, smoke signal, flight, train away. You know, just let me know.
I know you always say that, man. I'm here for you too, man. And you're a wonder, man. I am just so happy and honored to know you, a human being like you, and admire you so much. And we'll keep doing it, man. And let's go win, and then let's just keep marching, man. We got a lot of work ahead of us, and this is just one stop on the train to freedom. on the
Man,
yep.
this and everybody just real quick before y'all know, Sunday, November 1st, we have an event, Why
Right.
We Vote. And Mark and I'll be at, we won't be at it for this long. It'll be short and sweet, but we got a lot of good people. We have Corey Bush, Tashard Jones, we got Bakari Sellers, we have Angelica Ross. We got some amazing folks. And it's gonna be an amazing event, y'all. And if anybody wants to help out with our Drop a Dale campaign, it's right here in a link, and I'll post it for a little bit. Post it right here. It's www.dropadele.org. That's dropadel.org. And you can help us phone bank. You can help us send text. Whatever it is we can do, because we have folks we have a lot of people facing political persecution, and it's not just me. Remember, use your voices, man. Remember, lead with love, and remember, there comes a time when you do something not because it's political, not because it's safe, not because it's popular, but because your conscience tells you it's right. I love you, Mark. I love you. See y'all later. Checking out.
Checking out. God bless you all.